Hi everybody, this is Sandy and I'm with the Farmhouse Family, and today I have a really simple, easy craft for you. If you're like most people that live on a homestead, you probably make your own homemade bread. So you probably will need a cute bread bag to store your bread in. Yep, it's a fish drawstring bread bag, and they are very easy to make. This project is more for a beginner, but if you're advanced in sewing, you can sure try this. It'll just take you really a short period of time to do it. But anyway, the first thing that you want to do is to pick out your fabrics. If you want your fish to be color coordinated, you pick out two types of fabric. You can go to your fabric stash or your local fabric store. I recommend cotton because it is better and it won't trap the moisture inside your bag and make your bread go stale faster. I also recommend please do not line your bag with any plastic. You don't want to put your fresh homemade bread in a plastic bag and then in the bread bag. You have a chance of trapping in that moisture and having your bread mold and go stale faster. So after you pick out your two color coordinated fabrics, you just lay out your fabric right sides together on a table, and then you can make your pattern. Now this is really simple. I use an old grocery bag, a paper grocery bag from the grocery store, and I cut it out of it. And if you want to make your pattern bigger, because I like the bigger size bag to hold like baguettes or a loaf of French bread, you can easily just tape it with Scotch tape. And then if you'd like to use the two color coordinated fabrics, then you can cut your pattern so you have a head piece and a tail piece. Now after you've laid out your pattern and you've cut it out, you'll end up with the head and with the tail piece. And the first thing that you want to do is line up the head and the tail piece right sides together. See? And then you sew a 1/4 inch across the top. Nothing fancy, just a straight stitch. All right, after you have your 1/4 inch sewn together, you'll end up with your one piece of fish. And then what you'll do is take and fold this edge over, and then fold down and fold down. And then you pin it and you bring it to your sewing machine and make sure that you backstitch on both sides and make sure they're kind of even. And you go and sew up and around the top. And when you're done with that, then you fold it over, pin it, bring it to your sewing machine, and sew a stitch across. And that creates your little pockets, so to speak, little channel or tunnel or whatever, to put in your drawstring on your fish. So then, after you have that done on both pieces, because you'll want two pieces, you put your right sides together and you line them up just like that and pin it all the way around. Now it's at this point, if you want to decorate your bag and have a little bit of fancy stuff before you stitch all around your fish, say you would like to put in a pretty ribbon and have it where you have some pretty decorative ribbon on there. Well, it's really easy to do at this point. A second here. Okay. So before you would put your two together, where you have all of that stitched up, what you do is you take two even pieces, and I'm going to use this on here. I hope you can see that there, like that. And you would just lay these out up And I always go with some side with it over, and then you can pin it. Pins are being fussy here. Okay, and then you pin it on wherever you'd like it, and then you can stitch it on, or I've also glued on there, and then you can do that on this side too, and then you put them together, and you have the excess over. And what will happen is when you sew all the way around your fish, starting down here at this edge, and you want to back stitch down at this edge. If you see, here's got it together there. Match up the seams, and right here where you ended off on your side seam, you'd start there, back stitch, and go all around, and it'll sew right over here. It'll sew that all in, and then you go around your fish, just using a 1/4 inch seam all around. If you're more comfortable with the 1/2 inch seam, you can do that too. It just means it'll be a little bit smaller fish. And then you would go over that seam also, and then you would end and double stitch at this corner here. So that would leave you this much of an opening for your fish. Okay. Then you would clip around the edges of your fish before you turn it out. Turn it right side out. And then you'd clip off the edges right here, this little edge on the point of the tail. Make sure as you're clipping your edge with your scissors that you don't cut into your seam around the edge of the fish. Okay, so then you turn it right side out and you have a fish like this, right? And you'll see how you have your seams. This one's a little bit smaller. I made this one just a little bit smaller because it would hold maybe a baguette in there. Okay, so you have your edges here, and you can run. What I like to do, and for your cord, for your drawstring, you could use them. Basically, the sky's the limit, whatever you'd like to do. You could use twine, you could use plastic, it's like a plastic lacing. You could use a thinner, smaller rope. Today, I'm going to use some of this green cording material. And all of these I got at garage sales. I didn't know at the time that I was going to use any plastic lacing, but it was so cheap that I bought it and I found a use for it. Okay, so what I would do is what you do is you measure out how much cording that you want for your bag. If you want a larger amount to hang on a hook, just measure out whatever amount you want. I measured a lot here. And now the easy way to run your drawstring through is I put a large safety pin on the edge like this. And that way, when I go through, it's just so easy and quick to get it through like that. And then another thing you could do is you don't have to cut your cord right away. You could run it through your sides here or through your channels or whatever and then cut. Okay. So then you have your cord and you can pull it through like this. If you'd like it to be a double, you could run it like this. Or if you want to do one, you could have and just tie a knot, whatever knot you want to use to secure it, and then you can clip your ends. And you could actually hide the knotted end in because it's such a liberal wide area here I've created, so it's not so difficult to get all of this through. Okay, so you got your drawstring, you got your fish. If you wanted to, you had your lace. See how it's a nice edge because you sewed that right in. You had your lace on your fish, and now you can do the eye. Now here's an old vintage button that I sewed onto the fish. You can use a button. Get out that button jar. I have a button jar. In fact, I have many button jars. I love collecting old vintage buttons, any type of buttons, for projects, and they're just fun to have on the counter. They're really pretty. Okay, so you can use a button eye, or you can take some felt like I did on this one, and I left this without any lace. I just like the gray and the contrasting flowers on there. Just a little white piece of felt and then a little black piece of felt, and then I glued it on. I recommend using this glue is a fabric fusion glue, and it's specially for fabric. It's waterproof, so you can wash your bag, or you can use this tacky glue. It's also waterproof, and it'll keep pretty secure on there. Just make sure that your glue, whatever you pick, is washable, because you're going to want to wash your bag. You might get a few little grease stains or stains in there like that, but just so you'll be able to, for ease, throw it in the washing machine. Okay, it's a very easy project. You can just use your imagination. You could also use plain fabric, and you could embroider before you sew the two sides together. You could embroider a pattern on there. You can embroider someone's name. I just think they're a great gift. You could bless somebody bake a fresh homemade loaf of bread and stick it in your bag, and there you go. You would be able to deliver them a nice fresh hot loaf of bread or some buns or something. Okay, well, that's our project for today, and I'd like to thank you for joining me today, and I hope you try the fish bag. Please like and share this video if you like it, and please subscribe. More videos are coming up, and more projects and more wonderful things here on the homestead. God bless, and have a great